Welcome to Sleepyville, where no one sleeps deeply. The pillows are bad and the sheets are made cheaply. But there is one family in the Sleepyville town that uses my pillow for the best sleep around. My pillows are adjustable for proper alignment, and the Giza sheets breathe so they feel no confinement. So order my pillow for great sleep refinement.
Why are they so chipper?
Their co-workers wondered.
So much energy and zest, like they've had the best slumber.
And when they peeked in the window, the secret was clear. My pillow sheets, pillows, and mattress toppers appeared. My pillow is breathable and lasts more than 10 years. It's washable and dryable and was manufactured right here. Giza cotton is what makes the softest of sheets, and the mattress topper helps support pressure points for deep, dreamy sleep. So click the link below to stop counting sheep.
We want my pillow!
The citizens of Sleepyville cried, but they didn't realize the family had a surprise.
Of the elections in Antrim continue to be questioned and resulted in multiple significant legal actions. Most of the notable actions pertain to the lawsuit brought by Matt DePerno. So Matt is with us tonight to describe and fill us in on what is happening there and update us. And I think he's got some more stuff to tell us about it, I'm hoping. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Matt DePerno.
Hello. I never really know what I'm going to talk about. I don't actually write any of this down, but I have a lot of stuff. So I'm a constitutional attorney. I've been practicing constitutional law for about 25 years now. Sued a lot of state agencies, federal agencies, school boards, sued a number of our current senators in the Michigan Senate. Sued a number of former House of Representative members. Sued Bill Schuette. Sued some people who destroyed a whole bunch of evidence related to the Flint water incident. All Republicans, by the way. So that's why I now have the moniker of the most hated person in Lansing, Michigan. It was Patrick Colbeck for a while. Did you know someone actually challenged Patrick once to a pistol duel? That's his reputation. I literally surpassed that. And for that reason, there's a lot of hatred from our elected representatives. These are people in Lansing who have no courage. They're guided by a subjective morality. They're grounded in no faith, even though they pretended they do. They make their decisions based on subjective issues. What's subjective to them, subjective morality. These are weak people, and we put them in office, unfortunately. And I want to echo something Bill said, and Patrick also, in a different way, though. It's been a long day, so excuse me if I speak bluntly to you. But we've all sat on our hands for the last 40 years while our country was stolen from us. Stolen by Marxists. And that actually happened, people. And they started at the school boards. That's how you change a country. You infuse Marxism into the schools. You teach Marxism, you teach communism, you teach socialism to the children. They grow up and start running the country. And that's the world we're living in right now. And it's because many of us have sat around and watched Netflix at night. I mean, you don't think that's part of the plan? Reconsider your thought to have you engaged in that process than actually out in community events like this, assembling and talking about real ideas. When you get comfortable in that type of lifestyle, you stop to lose sight of what's really important in the country. And they never lost sight of what was important to them. And they continue to push that Marxism into our school system, mass line enforcement, and now we've seen that over the last year. Think about the way our society so quickly gave in to the mask mandate, how quickly our society allowed the government to shut down businesses, and how easily people went along with it. That's mass line enforcement. That's what that is. That is pure 100% Marxism. Someone else said out here, our churches too. As a Catholic, and we practice a Catholic, more so than Nancy Pelosi, I will tell you. I am angered, very angered, and I sent several letters to my church asking the priests and the bishops why they so easily gave in to Marxism, and why they so easily allowed the church to shut down in violation of the First Amendment. And you know how many of my letters have been answered? But they do want me to show up on Sunday and make a donation. And that is, that's the problem right now in our country, because people still show up on Sunday and make that donation. And people just seem to have forgotten what it is to live in a free society. But we're going to learn real quickly when gas is $6 an hour, and in 10 years when you're standing in line to pay $5 a gallon for dirty water. That's coming, people. If you don't stand up and take your country back. And you take your country back by doing something. And so many people ask me, what can they do? What can we do to help? And people are eager to help. They want to help. I appreciate that you all want to help. You all want to do something. But what you need to do to help is you need to get elected on school boards. That's where it starts. You need to take your school boards back. You need to get rid of this critical race theory that's being taught in schools right now, because that is just Marxism. Plain and simple. You need to run for county commissioners' seats. Do you understand the power that county commissioners have? People don't. They don't understand it. But I'll tell you, we've witnessed it and we've experienced the power of the county commission in Antrim County. Because there are 5 people, real patriots up in Antrim County, who have stood strong through this whole process. 5 real patriots out of 9 who have continued to push the county and the secretary, Cheryl Guy up there, the county clerk, push them to do the right thing, to improve their voting system. Without those 5 people, I'm not sure where we'd be right now. So you have to give credit to them. And these are people who, just like you, are just normal people who decided to run for county commission and realize the power that they possess. You have to take your counties back. You have to get out and do it. And then the next step, you have to run for state representative. We have to get rid of these cowards in Lansing. I'm telling you, these people. The things they've told me to acknowledge that there was any fraud on November 3rd. They refuse to witness it, to see it. Intentionally, they don't want to see it. They don't want to read my evidence. They don't want to read our briefs that we put out. In fact, I've learned that they've been instructed directly, do not read this information. Do not look at these reports. If you read it, you can no longer say you haven't seen any evidence. This is what's actually happening in Lansing. They are being told by leadership, told that in their caucus, if they look at my information, they will be removed from committees. They will no longer be funded for future elections. They will be ostracized. This is what they're told by the likes of Mike Shirky, who we learned, by the way, has a company with connections to China. This is what makes up our leadership in Lansing. People like this, and you have to take that back. Yeah. Just like Christina, she's still here and she leaves. No, she had another meeting. She's trying to take back the Secretary of the State office, and that takes courage. We can no longer live in this society where people just live this type of sedentary lifestyle where they don't do anything. If you want to know what you can do, you have to get involved. You have to come to meetings like this. You have to start groups like this. Have another meeting like this next week, and then the week after, and get more people and more people, so they will hear your voice at some point. You have to run for election. You have to take back our government. And that's why on Thursday we're having a rally in Lansing at 10 o'clock to deliver thousands of affidavits to our state legislature so that they can hear your voice. They have to hear it. If they don't hear it, they won't do anything. If they don't think you're vocal, they won't do anything. What does our government do? Who do they listen to? No, seriously, who does our government listen to? The loudest, smallest segment of the population, right? That's who they listen to. Lobbyists, you're right, but also BLM, right? These types of groups that really, in truth, represent a very small segment of the population. But because they go out in the street and break things, our leaders listen to them. Now, I'm not saying go break things, but I am saying you need to organize and have your voice heard. Bill Bailey is a true patriot. And I get a little choked up when I talk about Bill, because if it wasn't for him, none of this would have happened. In a sea of people up in Antrim County, one person stood up and said this wasn't right. One person took action. I mean, I don't have 5 plaintiffs or 10 plaintiffs. I have one person who has stood through this and never quit, never wavered. And as a lawyer, I can tell you that is impressive to me, that he would stand through this and not quit the process. Because there have been tough times with nasty messages he's received. There's evil in the world, people, and they will come to your doorstep when you do something like this. So you got to think in your mind, really, what you can do for your society, what you can do for your country, and what Bill has done. And that's why we just kind of, sort of this thing rose up about a month ago. We started saying, who is Bill Bailey? You may have seen that on my Twitter account, social media. We did some T-shirts. And that's the question. Who is Bill Bailey? Because we wanted everyone to ask that question. who is Bill Bailey? And the truth is, he can be you. Every one of you can be Bill Bailey. And you should be. You should be for your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. As Bill said, you know, he has a history in his family of people who fought in the Civil War, in the Revolutionary War, people who died for this country. And we've lost sight of that. We've lost sight of the sacrifice people have made so that we could have the society that we do now. And we've become complacent while the Marxists took over the country in the background. And they've been working on it for years. And it finally came through in 2020 when they stole the November election. And I'll tell you how they did that. Because it was a long time in the making. They convinced Republicans in Michigan and other states to appropriate money for a voting system that they then turned over exclusively to that voting company. The results are read by that company. Our elected officials no longer do that. They, in many cases, don't have the passwords for their own system. They don't know how the system works. We've actually, in our case, we sent discovery requests to Secretary of State Benson. We asked her to provide us a copy of the source code for the Dominion voting system. Because under state law, she's required to maintain the source code. She's also required to test it at least annually for defects. You know how many times she has tested it? 0. Do you know where it is located? Because it is not located in Lansing, Michigan. It's located in California. Do you think she has access to it? No, she has no access to it. We asked her, how do these machines work? She said, I don't know. Ask the manufacturer. That's our system right now. So let me tell you how the system works. In Antrim County, here's what we found. The votes actually, and this is regardless of what the fake media tells you, these scoundrels who sit there and give you fake news every day and come out and ridicule us and say our evidence has been debunked. There is not one single piece of evidence that we have put out that has been debunked. And I have 2 volumes of our evidence up here. Nothing in these books has been debunked. There is not one person they have put forward yet who has debunked anything yet. That's what the media will tell you. And it is a lie, and they know it, and it's intentional. So in Antrim County, the votes went in 9 of 15 precincts, and that's important because you can affect an election in a county by only targeting certain precincts. You don't have to go after the entire county, and it's designed that way. If you went after the entire county, then it'd be noticeable. But in our state, in this 2020 election, pretty much to a county in all the red counties, they shaved about 5% off the top of the Republican vote. And you can do that by targeting specific precincts. So in 9 of the 15 precincts in Antrim County, the vote went from Jorgensen to Trump. So in other words, Trump got Jorgensen's vote. Biden got Trump's vote, and Biden's vote went into an undervote category, which went to adjudication, and then those votes were adjudicated back to Biden. So Biden got both his votes and Donald Trump's vote. And that is a fact. That is not made up. That is not me spinning it. That is 100% a fact that I can tell you based on the forensic imaging that we conducted. And I'll tell you this, there's no one else in the country who has access to the data that we have, because no one else has conducted a forensic examination of the Dominion voting system. And on December 4th, we pulled those images off the Antrim County server. We have them now sitting on a laptop. We can run their election as if we're sitting in their office. I can start up an election. I can run ballots through a tabulator. I can conduct a mock election just as if it's election day, and I can tell you exactly how the system works. So that's what happened with the vote in Antrim County. That's why it was so noticeable, because those votes all went to Biden, and he won 65%. The county clerk was ready to certify those votes. She was just going to say, okay, listen, this is what the computer tells us, right? No critical thinking. Just, hey, look, we got computer results. It's cool. You know? Let's go to Chili's. I don't know. But Bill went and knocked on the door and said, no, I don't think this is right. And then through a series of events, I got involved in this case. We filed a lawsuit and got the forensic imaging. There is one report that the Secretary of State put out by a professor out of the University of Michigan. And he says that, no, this is just human error. This is the safest election in the history of the country. In 2016, he said the opposite. You can find as many YouTube videos as you want on Professor Halderman if you look. And in 2016, he was saying these computer systems were totally corruptible and happy. But now they're just fine, right? It's cool. It's no problem. So we actually ran the test that he told us to run. And we found out that no, that's not how it works. Everything he told us didn't check out. Because when the vote goes from Biden to the undervote, there's a critical error. You can't do it. You cannot run an election where you have votes go from Jorgensen to Trump, Trump to Biden, and Biden to an undervote. That's not how the system's programmed. The system's programmed to send those votes up to the very next race or the very next candidate, which is the Green Party on the straight party ticket. We actually have screenshots, I'll tell you this, out of Berry County on election night. The Green Party candidate was winning at 8,000 votes in Berry County because of that very system I'm telling you. Those votes went from Biden to the Green Party straight party ticket. But that can't happen under the Antrim County system, and they knew it, and they went in and they coded it to go to the undervote. They subverted the election intentionally. Yes. Okay, undervote is no vote. An undervote is no vote. An undervote is you have a ballot where you didn't vote in the presidential election. Walk you through it a little bit more? Okay, let's say you vote for 2 presidential candidates. That would be an overvote. Okay? If you don't vote for any, you have an undervote. All right. So in our system, in the Dominion system, those types of things generate errors. Errors cause your ballot to go to an adjudication process. Adjudication means your vote is no longer counted in the computer system. Your vote is counted by some other person. Sitting in another room looking at a computer screen. It could be in another room, another city, another county, another country. Okay? They can vote your ballot now. But let's imagine this. Let's imagine it's Wayne County, Michigan, okay? And you just start accumulating these adjudication votes into the adjudication file over and over again, and you got 100,000. Someone can step in and adjudicate that 100,000 ballots with one click of a button for one candidate. That's called bulk adjudication. This is how the system is designed. We've turned the system over to these people. Our elected officials are responsible for it. But what I'm telling you is through the coding, we've actually debunked their expert witness, okay? We've shown that the system doesn't work this way. It's actually coded into the system to allow the election to continue to go on with the fraud. We've shown this over and over again with the way the system works. And so far we've put out 18 reports, expert witness reports. And how many of you read about in the media? How many have been reported by the Free Press and the Detroit News and the Associated Press? Right? 0. Fox News, 0. How many times has Sean Hannity had me on his show? Sean, how many times have you had me on your show? 0. 0. None. Why? Why don't we want to talk about it? Why don't people want to talk about this? A report we put out just this last week. Imagine in your head what a ballot looks like, right? On each side of the ballot, there's black boxes. Can you imagine those? Up and down, the left and right side, top and bottom, there's black boxes. Those black boxes are actually a grid system where the computer system reads your ballot. There's 59 black boxes on each side of the ballot. We found that in the forensic data, that there's actually evidence that those black boxes were modified. Because it tells us the critical errors that resulted when people put in their ballots. Some of those black boxes were too big. Why would they be too big? How could they be too big? Well, we found that if you make one of those black boxes too big, and you know which one you're going to edit, in this case, the 18th box on the right side of the column, you can cause votes for Donald Trump to be rejected. That's forensics. That's what we're doing. That's actually studying these systems to understand what's happening, how the errors occurred, and how your election was actually run. There's many other things we found through this system. You should all go to my website if you haven't. There's videos on there. There's all the data we have, every report we put out. We also did a video where we show how the system is corrupted. When you go to vote, you vote on what's called a tabulator, right? You understand that? That's a little scanner. You fill out your ballot, you mark your bubbles, you feed your ballot into the scanner. That scanner converts your ballot to a digital image, right? Your vote's not counted yet, by the way. It's just image at this point. And it's the image is put onto a disc, which will later be delivered to the county building, and your county clerk will actually tabulate all those results and then count your ballot and deliver those results to the Secretary of State. But at this point, your image, your ballot, is only an image on a tabulator. At the end of the election that night, your township clerk will go into that tabulator and close out that tabulator and shut down the election. And at that time, a tape is printed off out of the tabulator.
Yes, yes.
And that tape will tell you how many votes went for each candidate in each race. Okay? So imagine this. We now have a long printer tape, like a receipt you get at the grocery store. And it has every race on it, every election, every candidate, the numbers of ballots that were assigned to each candidate. Your board of canvassers will then look at that tape, compare it to the poll book. As Patrick said, the poll book is nothing more than an extension of the qualified voter file. It tells you who's allowed to vote and who's come in to vote. They mark that off in the poll book. These canvassers will compare that tape to the poll book. If the numbers match up in terms of the number of people who voted on the tape and the number who voted in the poll book, they'll certify your election for that township. No questions asked. Never look at the paper ballots. Well, I know how to trick that. I can run an election on the tabulator, and I can flip any election I want. Presidential all the way down to your school board, to your proposals. I can flip votes from any candidate I want to another candidate. Okay? And then when I close out the election, I can print off a tape that has whatever results on it that I want it to have. It has nothing to do with the paper ballots. Okay? So I can trick the election now at the tabulator. I can then transfer those ballots or those results to the election management system, which sits on the county clerk's desk. And I can have the same fraudulent results now show up on that machine, which will then be sent to the Secretary of State's office in Lansing. That's pretty significant. Okay? That means that any election can be tricked or fraudulent simply based on how we program it at the tabulator. That's terrifying. Okay? And I can do that. Listen, I'm just a constitutional attorney from Kalamazoo, right? I mean, who am I? I'm just a guy that, where was I back in October? You think I'd have thought I'd be here? You think I know this much about election equipment back in October? No, I had no clue, right? But in 7 months, I'm here now telling you about this. I put together a team of experts, former NSA guys, very qualified forensic people, who have spent months looking at these machines, studying them, telling us how they run. If you think I can do that in 8 months, do you think China knows how to do it? You think Russia knows how to do it? You think the Democrat Party knows how to do it? You think the Hillary Clinton Foundation knows how to do it? And you think the Republican Party knows how to do it? They all know how to do it. And that's why they're silent. Now, I gave a speech last night and someone stood up after and said, I have a friend, she asked a question, she said, I have a friend who's a candidate and you said you can show them how to win. I said, no. I said, Patrick actually took it off. No, that's not what we meant. We're not teaching you how to cheat. Not for any money. Okay? We're not teaching you how to cheat elections. But this is why your party refuses to acknowledge the fraud. It's why they remain silent. They don't want you to understand their complacency within the very fraud that they helped create, the system they helped create. This is the problem. You have to get rid of these machines. Okay? I can tell you something else I can do also. So now I told you I can cheat at the tabulator. I can have the tape printout to have any results on it I want. Any candidate I want can win at the tabulator. I can transfer those results to the election management system and send them on to the Secretary of State. Okay? But let's say it's 11 o'clock at night and my candidate's still not winning. I've done everything I could, right? I thought I did enough. You know, I was commissioned to do this in whatever precinct you want to say in Wayne County. It doesn't have to be. It can be any make-believe county in the state. Let's not use Wayne County. We'll use land of make-believe, right? Let's say we just don't have enough. You get a call from the central party out of Washington, D.C. and say, we don't have enough. We don't have enough. We're still down by 300,000 votes. What do we do? Well, you know what I can do? I can reopen an election. I can find a high-speed tabulator. I can reopen an election. I can stuff more ballots in it over and over and over again. It could be the same ballot. You can run the same ballot over and over. You know, the machine won't detect that it's the same ballot. There's no serial numbers. There's no coding. There's nothing that says the same ballots run over and over again. I can do that for a couple hours. Maybe it's 4 in the morning now. My hand is really tired. I'm exhausted. You know, I say to someone, hey, you know, bring in another cooler of soda pops. And they bring them in, but there's really ballots in there, right? Right? I can send a white van full of Subway subs, right? The white van that didn't really exist until we learned it did. That conspiracy theory that didn't happen until we learned it did. I can do this. And then I can close out that election and I can print off that tape. And you know what date and time I can put on that tape? 8 p.m. 8 p.m. That's scary, right? Yeah. That's terrifying. And yet they all say, we don't want you to look at the ballots. You can't look at the ballots. You can't look at the ballots. Well, you can look at the ballots. And every one of you has a constitutional right to look at the ballot. Every one of you. You have a constitutional right to audit the statewide election. It's self-executing. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to file a lawsuit. You can simply call your congressman up and say, I want to exercise my constitutional right to audit the statewide election. Yeah. And you can do that. You know what the judge in our case said? Well, Secretary of Benson said she's done 250 audits. And even though she's a defendant, I'm going to let her decide that she did an audit. Well, she did. She did 250 audits. You know what she did? She handpicked various precincts across the state and told those clerks to pull out a couple of ballots. In Berry County, there's 2 precincts that she said she audited. In one of them, she said the county clerk looked at 4 ballots out of 2,000. In another precinct, she had a clerk look at 2 ballots. And she goes on the media and does her interviews and says, I've done 250 audits across the state of Michigan. That's a lie. She hasn't done any of this. She's lying to you. And yet our Michigan representatives sit back on their hands. They don't call her out. They don't do anything. Instead, they claim that they're putting forth, 13 or 15 pieces of legislation that will do absolutely nothing. It will just continue the misery that we're under, the fraud that we're under. That's what they do. Let me ask you something. Who knows who Merrick Garland is? Who saw his speech a couple days ago? I mean, really? Did you guys understand what he was saying? Yes. I mean, you realize the significance of what that man said when he stood there and said that the Department of Justice is going to scrutinize these audits in Arizona. Number one, the Department of Justice has literally no jurisdiction at all in a state issue. But has that ever stopped the federal government from stepping in on states' rights? I mean, I don't know. I mean, does the federal government come in on states' rights? I'm asking for about, 200 million little babies? Just curious if the federal government imposes its will on states. I think it does. And I have this I got to tell you about. I just issued by the FBI. They will start now investigating anyone who is associated with or somehow promoted QAnon conspiracy theories. And suggesting that that is somehow domestic violent extremists. This is an operation they're running now to keep you silent, to keep me silent. And if you guys don't realize it, if you don't think his speech and this FBI alert is put out for guys like me, you're kidding yourself. 256 law school deans signed a letter saying that I shouldn't be able to practice law anymore. Because of this lawsuit. 256. These are the numbskulls who are educating our upcoming lawyers.
Obstruction of justice.
My 2 alma maters. I don't just have 1 law degree. I decided to go get 2. Okay? I went to New York University, got a 2nd. That dean doesn't think I should have a law degree. You'd think they'd be like, yeah, this guy's doing pretty good. Look at this. He's actually out there fighting for the Constitution. Well, they may have forgotten what the Constitution says. They certainly have forgotten what the First Amendment says. How many tenets are there to the First Amendment? Shout them out. 5. Who said 5? Listen to this guy. 5, everyone. How many do you know? Give me them. Religion, we've already talked about that, right? Free speech, assembly, what you're all doing here. But guess what? If they shut down your business, make you wear a mask, mask line enforcement, what are you no longer doing? Assembling. You think that was part of the plan?
Yes.
I don't know, maybe. I don't want to be a QAnon guy. And I might get raided tonight, right? I'll be like Roger Stone at 5 in the morning, right? I mean, why would they send that many FBI agents to see Roger Stone? I mean, the only time they sent more FBI agents to visit someone is when they had to investigate a garage pull at NASCAR. When I called the FBI, you know how many agents they've sent? Zero. When I got death threats, you know how many FBI agents they sent? Zero. They were like, oh, I think that guy sounds like a fan. No, that's a true story. Oh, the guy sounds like a fan. You know, okay. Maybe he did. When they said, we're going to come and extract you from your home tonight, the FBI was like, no, I think he's just kidding. So, okay, freedom of speech, religion, assembly, right to petition, right? Freedom of press, right? Freedom of press is totally corrupted by that. That's totalitarianism, what that is. You know what totalitarianism? It's literally when the press has been totally corrupted by the government, and where they speak one thing and one agenda given to them by their government masters. Totalitarianism is socialism, it is Marxism. If I can't say Marxism enough to you tonight, I will try to say it as many times as I can. Our Attorney General is a fascist. Dana Nessel is a total fascist. The Führer Whitmer is a socialist, and every one of them should resign. Our Secretary of State is a corrupt criminal who should no longer be in office. But our Attorney General actually represents her in my case. We've alleged that the Secretary of State committed mass election fraud, and our Attorney General represents her in defense. That's not her job. Her job is the opposite, to investigate. Our Attorney General has turned into a defense attorney, a criminal defense attorney. I mean, the world's upside down. This is bonkers, right? I mean, to take a word from our English friends across the pond, this is bonkers. And a lot of them actually are concerned about what we're doing. Patrick's right about that. So think about that, the 5 tenets of the First Amendment. The freedom to petition the government for redress. That's what Bill Bailey's doing. And yet our Attorney General and the Secretary of State have come out and said that attorneys like me should be sanctioned for bringing this lawsuit. We should lose our law license for bringing this lawsuit. Not only do they not understand the Constitution, but they just violated it again. Okay, these are the people running our government right now. These are the people. I'm asking you to get involved so that we can fight this extremism. I mean, we have to fight this extremism by people getting involved and doing something. So, what? No, he's asking, what do you do? The judges are corrupted. There's no law enforcement. You know, the legislatures are corrupted. We're going to lose anyway.
Sheriffs?
The sheriffs are corrupted. You're right in many ways, but don't be defeatist. Because I am telling you, I can't tell you, so I'm not telling you.
Obstruction of justice.
We didn't hear it.
No one heard this. Keep this to yourself. I won't even tell your wife.
Oh, no, rumble.
Antrim County is going to be a part of history one day. Not because we showed that 7,000 votes flipped in Antrim County that were, later corrected, presumably. We don't know that really because they haven't let us look at the ballots. But Antrim County is not going to be known because of the 7,000 votes that flipped. Because that doesn't change the election. There's, Joe Biden won by 150,000 votes, right? All right, he did. But it's not the 7,000 votes that matter. did something no one ever did before. We went into that county and collected forensic images of their system. And that can't be taken away from us. Even if they try, they're not going to find where we house those images. Okay? What we've got from those is a treasure trove of information and data. Antrim County was always a jumping off point for what we are doing. We have put out 18 reports. And one thing I've learned as a lawyer is you don't announce something that you're doing in advance.
That's right. That's right.
You don't say you have the Kraken when you don't. You don't raise $20 million saying you had the Kraken when you don't have it, and then keep the $20 million. You don't do that, okay? What you do is you step on your opponent by releasing your data, and then the next time you point at someone else, they'll know that you're coming from them. That's how you practice law. That's how you release information. That's how you release data. You don't announce it in advance and tell everyone what you're doing, okay? If anyone gave to that organization, did anyone? Defending the Republic? Call them up and ask for your money back, because I need the money. Don't let her sit on $20 million, people, and not do anything with it. Because what we're doing is more than anyone else has ever done, okay? And we're doing it on a shoestring budget. And that's the reality of it. Don't buy into any of this other stuff that you're hearing from anyone else. We're the only ones that actually have these images. We're the only ones doing this. We're the only ones out there talking to local sheriffs, talking to local counties. We've expanded our footprint into other states. This is a far more expansive operation than any that I can tell you about. So don't lose hope, is what I'm saying. Don't be defeated. Because if all of you have that attitude and you're a defeatist, then we don't have the energy to run. I will tell you that what we have, I have a box at home, a huge box of letters I've received from people with donations of $20, $50, $100. And we would not have survived without that. So it's people like you who send in those donations that keep us going. And it's the letters you send. I mean, don't discount the letters you send into our team telling us how you appreciate what we're doing, because we've got a stack of them, a huge stack of letters of people telling us what they appreciate from all over the world, not just this state, and not just this country, but from all over the world. I've got letters from people telling me that they've gathered up all they could afford, every last dime they've had out of their Social Security check, and here's $5. That's important. So don't be a defeatist and don't give up, because if you give up, then we have no energy to run on. And I'll tell you, this is hard work. No one else is doing this, and we need everyone's help, and we need support. We need both financial support, and we need your prayers, and we need you to give us, that energy to run. And so that's important. So I don't know. None of this is planned that I talk about. I just kind of wing it. Maybe I give you some hope a little bit. Give you some information and data. Yeah. Anyone have any questions? There's probably
court and then come on here, as a plaintiff. Why can't you get more plaintiffs out of Antrim County?
You don't need more plaintiffs when you have Bill Bailey. Yes, Beck. Oh yeah, he said, why don't you have more plaintiffs? Why do you only have Bill Bailey? Why don't you have more plaintiffs? I said, you don't need more plaintiffs when you have Bill Bailey.
What is the status?
The status of the litigation is the judge dismissed our case. What's that?
What was that first? How many judges?
Yeah, the judge stated that under the Constitution says that every citizen has the right to audit the statewide election. And Secretary of Benson said she did an audit. Case closed. He didn't examine the issue of what that means, what the definition of an audit is, or whether she actually fulfilled that duty. So we filed a motion for reconsideration. We asked them to reconsider that. I think it's quite good. You should all read it. It's I've been told actually it's one of the better pieces of legal writing that people have ever seen, and it is quite good. There's no time frame.
I assume it's pending.
Yeah, it's pending.
In Antrim County, though.
Yeah, Antrim County, it's pending, but it's quite good. You should maybe publish one day.
No other judge? We gotta go to the same guy again?
Yeah, you got to go to the same judge to read it. And if that fails, we go to the Court of Appeals. But I think ultimately we'll prevail on that issue. But what I want to leave you with is this. It doesn't matter, people. We already won. We won on December 4th when we went into that county without the media knowing what we were doing and collected forensic images. We won that day. We won for the country that day because they can't take away what we have now. And they can't take away what we're going to continue to produce. We put out 18 reports and more will come because we're discovering more and more things. It's a matter of people listening and it's a matter of people sharing it. When we try to share this on Facebook, we're immediately shut down. I'm surprised I still have a Twitter account, but it's probably just because I have humorous tweets now and then, which are somewhat entertaining, some people have said, but they still haven't shut them down there, so we can share some stuff. But you have to talk to people and get this information out. It's all available on my website. We're completely transparent. We're not hiding anything. Everyone can look at it. I can get 500 emails a day from people telling me in some cases they like what they read, and in some cases I should die, right? But you can all read it and make your own decision, and people should read it. Yes?
How do you spell your name and what is your website?
My website is DePernoLaw.com. DePernoLaw. It's a good Italian name, just like it sounds. Yes?
Are the 18 reports that you keep referring to available for us to view?
They are all available
On your site?
on my site. You can look at all of them. You can see everything we've done, and you can share them with your friends.
Thank you.
Yes?
With all the corruption, and I work at the adjudication computer at TCM, have you found any fraudulent activity with the scanners?
Yes. Next question?
Yes. Our association website.
What's that?
I looked on the state bar website, and there's a complaint form for lawyers and judges.
Yes.
Would it help if we sent thousands of complaints to the bar association?
He's looked on the State Bar's website, and there's a form there where you can send in a complaint against a judge or a lawyer. And he's asking me if anyone can send in a complaint. The only way I'm going to answer that is by saying that the form is there. Yes.
Does Vice Mandel really have the ability to get to the Supreme Court?
No. Next question. Back there? Yes.
Please tell me that there will be actual prosecutions in the end.
She's asking if there will be real prosecutions in the end. And we hope so, but that's not our job. I'm not a prosecutor. We've given data to prosecuting attorneys. So far we haven't seen that. But, that takes courage from someone who's a prosecutor to bring charges. One more.
How about over here?
So how are you gonna get past all of this gridlock and get people to actually look at the evidence? I mean, if we have the evidence that we need, I mean.
She's asking how we get past the gridlock and get people to look at the evidence. And I'd say first, I don't think it's gridlock. Gridlock assumes that there's two warring factions that can't get along. We have what's called a uniparty right now in Lansing. It's not gridlock, it's just the fact that they go along with each other, and our Republicans are cowards and won't do anything about it. They haven't stood up like the representatives did and the Senate did in Arizona. And that's what we need. We need those people to stand up in Lansing like they did in Arizona. But it's going to change, because those results are coming out in Arizona. And when they do, and if there's any evidence of fraud in Arizona, for instance, I don't know, let's say they can't find 200,000 ballots. Bernie Carrick sent out a tweet today. He said, they might not be able to find 200,000 ballots. And I sent back a reply and I said, no, it's not an issue of not finding them. They never existed in the first place. But if there is evidence that comes out in Arizona that there's 200,000 ballots missing, that's going to create a tidal wave across this country and across these states. And every one of our Michigan representatives is going to get hit in the face with this tidal wave. And they're going to look stupid because they've sat on their hands and done nothing. And that's going to be the same in Michigan and Georgia and Pennsylvania, Minnesota and Wisconsin.
I can talk. This is really for this part of the room, not this part of the room. This event is labeled a fundraiser to support that guy, right?
Right.
We raised whatever Mary said, prices. I'm gonna leave a little money somewhere here, and think about putting a couple more bucks in. We can feed 6,000 or 5,000, whatever Mary said. If it's a fundraiser to support that guy, let's support the guy. Let's not just give him a round of applause, take good hand. Let's don't.
I gotta run. She's telling me to get off. Thanks for everyone for coming out. We really appreciate all the donations, everything everyone did. God bless.
Okay, so we're gonna run through some very important announcements. So please.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm going to pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep.